before he was in his prime. A former Finals MVP before he entered his prime is shooting 60 in the playoffs. The best offensive player, including KD, who's also in his prime, but Kawhi is not playing with Steph and Clay. So under pressure, yes, Kawhi is better than Kobe was.
All right, that was Max with the hot take on May 7th, touting Kawhi as a better clutch player than Kobe. I know your inbox had to be blowing up after that one. Since then, Kawhi and the Raptors rallied from 14 points in Game 5 and 15 points in Game 6 to clinch the series and send Toronto to its first NBA Finals in franchise history. According to Elias, Leonard is the fourth player to lead his team in scoring and reach the finals in his first season with the team in the last 30 years, joining LeBron James, Jason Kidd, and Charles Barkley. Max, has Kawhi proven that he is indeed a better closer than Kobe?
No, he already proved it, but sure, he's giving more evidence. I mean, this is who he is. By the way, I want to read you a stat from Bleacher Report. This is from Game 3 of this last series, because people think about offense and think clutch offense. What about defense? Like, one of LeBron's greatest defensive plays was, or clutch plays, was a block, right? Iguodala to a block. Kawhi, defensively, on Giannis in Game 3 of this last series, on Antetokounmpo, an unstoppable physical phenomenon, in 41 possessions in a game, that's guarding him constantly. Giannis had 4 points on 2 for 12 shooting, 0 for 3 from 3, 1 assist and 2 turnovers. So it's not, so first we have to understand, Kawhi draws the most difficult, most unstoppable assignment and does a better job than anyone who ever lived could possibly do, on at least as good. Like, when you talk about great defenders, you talk about like Dennis Rodman or Scottie Pippen or Bill Russell or Kawhi Leonard. He's in the all-time greatest discussion, and he's tasked with stopping the unstoppable. Ask LeBron James, your guy, coach. And of course, LeBron was still the MVP of every series. Of course, I get it. But back then, he was, when Kawhi would check in, he's like, oh, here we go. That was key to the Spurs winning. Look, Kobe Bryant, I know why people think he's so clutch in the end. First of all, totally fearless. Secondly, he could take a shot that a normal guy hits 5 or 10% of the time. He could hit it 30% of the time. So you can guard Kobe perfectly, and still, like, too often it's like, damn, he hit that shot. Kawhi doesn't do that. What Kawhi does is go find himself a very high percentage shot. And by the way, he's doubled. He's doubled just like Kobe was, and he's trapped just as Kobe was, but he just finds himself a higher percentage shot. So he hits them more of the time. I want to show you the side-by-side comparison. This is in the play. By the way, and I love Jay Williams asking me, what's the big iconic moment for Kawhi? In this playoff series alone, he has so many, you stop counting. Against the Sixers, against the Bucks. Look at this. This is for their careers in the playoffs. Higher field goal percentage, by far, Kawhi. Plus minus, by far, Kawhi. PER is Kawhi, and that's just offensive efficiency. Win shares per 48, by far Kawhi, because Kobe could be a great defender when he chose to be. Kawhi is always among the greatest defenders of all time. This dude is one of the all-time clutch performers. And when you compare Kawhi at this point in his career to Kobe at this point in his career, Kawhi's been better.
First of all,
in the clutch.
Hold on for a second. First of all, I was not aware that we were going to have this discussion, because had I been aware, I would have left and I would have went and got some tea and let Max talk to Damon Jones. I would have had nothing to do with this conversation. I'm not trying to even entertain this. When you consider Kawhi Leonard just became relevant offensively 3 years ago. He just became relevant offensively 3 years ago, 2015 to be exact, when he really became a number one option and he wasn't playing with Tim Duncan and those boys anymore, or Tim Duncan had faded. 2015. That's number one. Number two, we don't take into account, you keep mentioning all defensive team. Max Kellerman, Kobe Bryant is tied with guys like the Glove, Gary Payton, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. This guy was a 9-time All-NBA first-team defensive player. That was Kobe Bryant. We keep forgetting that.
Kobe Bryant's not in Kawhi's class
90 times. Excuse me, you can say whatever you want. The game is different in this day and age. The game is different in this day and age. You can take all of that into consideration. Kobe Bryant was an elite defender in his prime. Number three, I'll let you speak. I ain't say a word. I'll let you speak that drivel. The fact of the matter is, you got Kobe Bryant in the league for 20 years. come to me. Kawhi Leonard is a baby. And in today's day and age, where people can get called for a foul for passing gas or having bad breath, for crying out loud, don't talk to me about Kawhi Leonard and what he could do in comparison. As great as I know he is, don't talk to me about him in comparison to the greatness we've seen from Kobe Bryant. And oh, by the way, you ever think about those clutch moments that you're talking about? One of the reasons why you can't point to Kobe, or you choose not to point to Kobe, is because of so many times that Kobe didn't let it get to that point because he was a killer. And when he sensed blood, he took you out before there was a closing moment to take into consideration. When you see Kawhi Leonard against Philadelphia, when you see Kawhi Leonard against Milwaukee, and he had an opportunity to put his foot on their throat, but they were still in the game until a last shot here or there, whatever the case. Kobe took people's hearts. So I'm not going to have this discussion.
Better than
you
Kobe.
Can believe what you want. You can give me PER with all your analytics buddies all you want to. I'm not trying to hear all of that. Take it away, Damon. Take it away, because I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm not going to be a part of this blasphemous conversation. I'm just not going to do it.
Stephen A., I was ready to walk out when he started his whole thing about, Kawhi being more clutch than Kobe Bryant. Kawhi Leonard is doing some great things. I get it. I mean, and he's ascending, all right? He's the third best player in the league behind LeBron James and Kevin Durant. Okay. But what Kobe did over the course of his career, like when you saw Kobe Bryant on the floor, you were scared to death if you were the other team's perimeter players, because you knew this guy defensively, he was going to take the challenge, okay, on your best scorer, and then offensively, he was relentless at scoring the basketball, getting to the free throw line, shooting the jump shot when needed to. And I just think that Kobe Bryant is more clutch.
Kobe Bryant was a greater player at his peak than Kawhi Leonard has been so far. We're talking about clutch. And you guys can do anecdotally all you want. Well, you were scared. Okay, go ahead and measure that, right? Or you can make fun of analytics, which is actually a record of events. Like, we can go back and show the video of every time Kobe missed a shot versus every time Kawhi hit the shot under pressure. And I also cannot compare their two careers, because one dude played 20 years and one guy's in the middle of his career. All I can do is compare Kawhi right now to Kobe at the same point in their career. Kawhi has been better in clutch moments in the playoffs than Kobe was. It doesn't mean he's a better player than Kobe was, but he's been better in clutch moments. And as great as Kobe was when he chose to be defensively, Kawhi is a better defender than Kobe ever was.
Well, here's my whole point, Max. You sit up there and you talk about stuff like, you know what, you point to the numbers and we can give you things that are anecdotal, but that doesn't matter. Well, you know what, Max, I recall you being on the airwaves, reminding us of the greatness of Kobe Bryant when it came to him going through what he went through in Eagle County, Colorado earlier on in his career when they were en route to the first, to those three-peats and what have you. You pointed out stuff like that. You pointed out how many people could sit up there and fly to a courtroom and in the same day come back and drop 40 and 45 and all of these other things. In other words, everything just ain't measured by numbers. Sometimes it's measured by circumstance, the level of adversity that that's staring you in your face. Some of the obstacles that you can't equate or quantify to really put in front of an individual to really measure what they got. We talk about Game 7s, for example, Damon Jones. Why do we talk about, say, Game 7s, for example? We talk about it because usually that separates the men from the boys. It's a Game 7, and what you're accustomed to doing, suddenly palms get sweaty, backsides get tight, and you got cats that can't necessarily perform. I'm just saying that every single thing can't be measured statistically.
I agree
Those
with that.
circumstances matter. I know you agree with it. I know you agree with it, which is why I'm saying, why did you just discount it when you've been spending years agreeing with that?
Because I will go to those points. Game 7. Would you say a Game 7 against, the Boston Celtics in a Lakers-Celtics rivalry is a big deal?
Because it's a big deal, and he didn't perform that great that night.
Kobe couldn't buy a shot. Meta World Peace bailed him out. You want to talk about palm sweaty and all that stuff? How about when you look like you've been moving in quicksand? The broadcasters were mentioning it. Everyone knew because Kawhi was hurt. Because Kawhi is the entire offense of the team. Because Kawhi is tasked with defending the Greek freak half the game.
And who was he going against? Guys who never won.
Yeah.
Right, but why?
He was going against guys who never won.
They're not going to win because of Kawhi. Hold on. Now, when he did that, Kawhi in the third quarter, so it didn't get to a Game 7 on the road, when they were down 15 points, single-handedly brought them back in 2 minutes, made up 10 points. Now they're down 5 points heading into the fourth, and Kawhi won them the game. I recall Kawhi Leonard dribbling around Ben Simmons, who's an excellent defender, and shooting a three with time expiring.
But I
Joel
don't recall
Embiid's face, who's a great
denying
defender.
that. I don't recall anyone
I can give you
denying
anecdotal evidence about Kawhi,
No, but
too.
what I'm saying is you gave me anecdotal evidence over a couple of games. We got 20 years of Kobe.
If you're asking me,
I've seen it
if you
with
guys
my
are
own
asking
eyes.
me to compare 20 years of Kobe to Kawhi so far, I can't do that. All I can do is take Kobe at this point in his career and compare the accomplishments at his peak. How high a level did he reach at this point? And I'm telling you, overall, Kobe is a greater player than Kawhi has been so far.
Let me ask you a question, Max.
Under pressure, Kawhi has been better.
Let me ask you a question, Max. We all know that Steph Curry's the greatest shooter in the world, right? We concede that, right?
Sure.
What would Steph Curry have done if he were playing in the 80s or the 90s?
Shot the hell out of the ball, though.
Wait a minute.
He's going to shoot
Wait
the
a
ball.
minute. He wouldn't have been the player he is now.
Correct.
You know why?
Correct.
He'd have
Game
got
was
hurt.
played differently.
They got hurt. They'd have slipped. Somebody would have
physical.
untied his shoelaces, stepped on his ankle, kept beating his forearm. They'd have sent them to the hole. You know how he goes to the hole with those pretty one-handed shots? Let him try that with
different.
the Oakleys of the world.
Yeah,
Wait for
yeah,
it have took his head off.
More
What I'm
physical.
saying to you is that the game has evolved and it has changed. And some of the things that Kobe had to endure, Kawhi has never had to endure that.
But we can't.
And
Listen,
you're ignoring that.
No. What we can't do is pluck each guy out of their prime and put them in the other era because they weren't asked to do that. You don't know if Kawhi could do that or not, and you don't know if Kobe could succeed on this level that Kawhi's succeeding on in this NBA or not. But what you can do is compare what they actually did.
But you know Kobe Bryant can compete right now because it's freedom of movement, Max. And what he did with the bumping and grinding on the perimeter defensively, he was getting to the free throw line 10, 12 times a game.
My feeling
right now, he would dominate this era. He would dominate the era,
Kobe,
right now.
Kobe Bryant would dominate any era he was in. Not necessarily be the best player, but be an MVP candidate. And I believe were he coming up in this era, he'd be a great three-point shooter because he'd work on it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Just like I believe if Kawhi, you sent them back to a different era, he would work to make himself great. The point is we don't know, but we suspect. But what we can do is see what did Kobe actually do when he played, what is Kawhi doing right now, and we can compare those apples to apples. Under
there are
pressure,
no apples
it
to
doesn't get
apples.
better
That's
than
the
Kawhi.
point. There are no apples to apples in this equation. That's the whole point. Max Kellerman, let me go in your wheelhouse just for a second here. Because I obviously, you know, I love boxing, but I'm not like you. I'm more humble. I'm willing to admit I don't know boxing to the degree that you do. You know I know boxing, but my God, do you know your boxing? One day you'll admit you take lessons on basketball this way. But that's a different subject for another day, Max. It's a different subject.
For someone who takes lessons, I must take them pretty well because I'm always right.
I got a question about boxing. Are the rules, we watch boxing, but just answer this quick yes or no. Are the rules the same in boxing today as they were?
No.
I hear you comparing boxers all the time.
That's
you
right,
go
but what I
different
don't
eras.
do,
You compare them all the time.
But what I don't do is what you're doing, which is to say, well, send Floyd Mayweather or Sugar Ray Leonard back to the 50s when you had to fight every, or the 30s when you had to fight every other week. They wouldn't have been so tough. I just don't know that. All I know is how they did in their era.
Bob Cousy or John Havlicek or somebody. I brought up Kobe. I'm talking about Kobe just this millennium. I'm talking about Kobe. I'm talking about MJ. I'm talking about people like that. You're giving me Kawhi.
If you're arguing
in all of this.
The league right now is more skilled than it's ever been. I can't argue about the toughness. You have to be tougher back then, although more people play defense on more positions nowadays, more possessions nowadays.
You can see what was allowed.
The one sport that you can measure objectively is track and field. And what we know about that is Jesse Owens, who's the greatest ever, right, wouldn't be a top 10 sprinter today. And the reason we know that is we have the times, right? But I would not argue that the 8th best sprinter in the world is as great as Jesse Owens because it's how you do in your era. I find it a little bit curious that you're trying to make the argument that it used to be better in basketball then, that the players used to be better. If you're arguing tougher, I can't really argue against that. But it's a silly argument. We don't know.
No, listen.
No,
listen
I know.
And learn.
I played.
Hold on, Damon. Listen and learn. What we're saying is that this era like Damian just brought it up, the movement without inhibitions, the freedom that you have. Look at the patience that we see Kawhi has. He would not have been able to do that back in the day because they wouldn't have allowed it, because they don't allow that movement.
But
the
then what
stuff
I'm
that
saying
he could
is,
not be able to do is night and day.
Every player who succeeds in a given era, it's tautological, right, is adapted to succeed in that era. And I would believe that Kobe would succeed here because he's great and he would adapt himself to the era, period. And I believe that about Kawhi, too, in any
Damian,
era.
help him.
So the argument doesn't really go anywhere.
Well,
help him, Damian.
Kawhi Leonard, I mean, he could play in, I would say, my era because I played 12 years ago. And I think his game is physical enough, but over the course of an 82-game season, pounding.
When did Kobe play 82 games?
What do you mean?
Kobe wasn't an 82-game-a-year guy.
But when it counted, Kobe Bryant put in work.
And Kawhi doesn't when it counts?
No.
He's better than Kobe when it counts. The numbers just showed you that.
I mean, the sample size, though, Max, we're talking about 20 years of Kobe Bryant to what? 4, 5, 6 years of Kawhi?
So in other words, why have the argument? He hasn't played 20 years yet. When Kawhi plays, if and when Kawhi plays 20 years, I compare 20 to 20. Right now, I could compare what Kawhi did to what Kobe did.
No, but you can't. It's not fair if you take 6 years of sample size and try to compare it to 20 years. Of course, over 20 years, it's not going to be as high.
Max,
I see. You're saying it brings the average.
Yeah, it brings the average down.
Okay, next show, I'll bring in the average at the same year.
I have some of Kobe's numbers. Right in front of me. Forget the fact that he averaged 35 one year, 31 another. Forget all of that. Not important. Max Kellerman, he played 82 games in 2002, 2003. He played 82 games from 2007, 2008, 2009.
That's twice.
He played 82 games in 2010, 2011, and played 80 games
That's out of 20
about
seasons.
2 or 3 other times.
Right.
But you got.